That's so good. You think so? Now let's go ahead and pray here, y'all. God should get along. Oh, okay. Sister One, you good? You warm? You warm? You turn down? I'm Vegas. You warm? Are you good? Okay. Let's make sure. I'm Vegas. Be careful though. It's not good for that camera. All minds clear. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 4. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael. Yahuwah Eloheinu. Yahuwah Echad. Shemot, or Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3. We will have no other mighty ones. Against the Most High. We will not make any carved image. Or any likeness of that which is in Shamayim above. Or which is in the earth beneath. Or which is in the waters under the earth. We will not bow down to them. Nor serve them. For Yahuwah our El is a jealous El, visiting the wickedness of the fathers on the children, to the third and fourth generation, those who hate him, but showing kindness to thousands of those who love him and keep his commandments. Who will not bring the name of Yahuwah our El to nothing. For Yahuwah will not leave us unpunished, who brings his name to nothing. We will remember the Shabbat day to keep it Kodesh. 6 days we will labor and do all our work. But the seventh day is the Shabbat. Yahuwah our El. We're in 6 days. Yahuwah made Shamayim and the earth and the sea and all that is in them. And rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahuwah brought the Shabbat day. We will respect our fathers and our mothers, so our days are long upon the earth. We will not murder. We will not commit adultery. We will not steal. We will not bear false witness against our neighbor. We will not covet anything that is our neighbor's. Father, Yah, we pray and ask that you would allow our hearts to open, Father, to receive your word, Father. Allow our ears to be attentive until the voice of your people, Father. We pray that you would give utterance unto the speaker, Father, and understanding unto the hearer, so that we all may be doers of your word, Father. We pray, Father, that you will help us to be diligent to carry out and guard and protect your commandments, Father, to keep them on a daily basis, Father, walking in them, Father, so that we can be a light to others. Father, we pray and ask for every soul who is in this room, Father, that you would allow edification according to your word, Father, that you allow your Ruach, Father, to be with us on this day, Father, that you would be in the midst as we keep your day set apart, Father. Father, we pray and ask for every soul that is still in transit, Father, that you would allow them to make it here safely, Father. And ultimately, we just ask that you be with us on this day. We give thanks for the Shabbat, and we say thank you. For all these things we pray and give thanks for Hashem Yehuwah, Ben Kaya, Hoshua, Hamashiach, Ruach HaKodesh, so be it. So be it. Yeah, he's going to be a terrible.
Yes, and I wanted to.
A little Shabbat shalom.
Hey, mute your phones, please.
Okay. Shabbat shalom. All right. So we I got a little something like some word for y'all today. Just like the majority of the lessons that I do, it's a little bit interactive. So feel free to answer if you know if I ask a good question. And if you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know. That's cool too. Excuse me. All right, so this lesson is titled "Life and Death are in the Power of the Tongue." So a few of these principles and ideas I touched on previously in another lesson, but kind of in a different way. So some of it might sound kind of familiar, but I try to make it new, so to speak. It's kind of a different approach. All right, so let's start off in Proverbs chapter 18. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 21. Oh, you got the notes. Genesis hanging on about we ain't get a prayer. 18 and 21.
Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof.
That's good. So, death and life in the power of the tongue. That's what I want to touch on for the little bit of time to be in front of you. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1. We're gonna spend a little time in Genesis 1 surrounding the creation, because when I think of death and life being in the power of the tongue, right? Can you literally kill somebody with words? Yeah. Definitely can hurt her. Definitely. Can you literally bring life with words? Absolutely. All right, so Genesis 1 and verse 1.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the Shamayim and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said, let there be light.
And we did what?
And there was light.
Mm-hmm.
And Elohim saw the light. And Elohim saw the light that it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night.
He did what?
The light day and the darkness he called night.
So he called the light day, he called the darkness night. Go ahead.
And the evening and the morning were the first day.
Uh-huh.
And Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters.
Mm-hmm.
And Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so.
Okay. Stop. That's good right there. So, right here we see a couple things being created here, right? What was created? Light. Well, water was already there, right? What did you say? He divided the waters, yeah. But how did he divide the waters? What did he use? The firmament. So he created the light and he created the firmament. But he kind of created them in different ways. If you really pay attention to what happened. So go back to verse 3.
Verse 3. And Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light.
So he said, let there be light. And there was light. So he spoke light into existence, right? He spoke it and there was light. Now we talked about this before in a couple lessons that Quad did, where he bring up the point that the Most High actually worked during the creation. It wasn't just like he said, let it be trees, then the trees started growing. Because the scripture said that he planted a garden, right? So now peep how he make the firmament. Verse 6.
Verse 6. And Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters.
So when he said, let there be a firmament didn't appear. The next verse, what did he do?
And Elohim made the firmament.
And he made the firmament, right? So that was work, right? That was being done. In one instance, he spoke something and it became. In another instance, he actually made what it was that he was creating. Let's go to Psalms 33 and verse 6. Hold that Genesis 1. We're gonna come back there, but we're gonna hit a couple and then come back. Well, Psalms 33, verse 6.
Psalms 33, verse 6. By the word of Yahuwah were the Shamaim made.
By what?
By the word of Yahuwah were the Shamaim made. And all the host of them by the breath of his mouth.
By the breath of his mouth. What is breath? What is the breath of his mouth? Anybody know what that word breath is in Hebrew? Ruach, exactly. Anybody know everybody know what ruach is, right? Spirit. Same word for spirit. Let's go to Isaiah 40. So it says that by his word were the heavens made, or right? By Isaiah 40 and verse 18.
Isaiah chapter 40 at verse 18. To whom then will you liken Elohim? Or what likeness will you compare unto him?
Verse 21.
Verse 21. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Had it not been told you from the beginning? Had you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sit upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretch out the Shamaim as a curtain.
That did what?
That stretch out the Shamaim as a curtain, and spread them out as a tent to dwell in.
And spread them out as a tent to dwell in. So that firmament that he actually made, he actually spread it out. He actually made it. It took some physical work to do. But the light he created with his voice, with his words, by his breath, right? Back to Genesis 1. And we go down to verse 14.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of Shamaim to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the Shamaim to give light upon the earth. And it was so.
And it was so. So he said, let there be lights in the firmament. We know these lights is what? Right? Verse 16.
Verse 16. And Elohim made two great lights.
And he did what?
Made two great lights.
He made two great lights, right? Go ahead.
The greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the Shamayim.
He set them in the firmament. So this is still him doing action, right? Go ahead.
And Elohim set them in the firmament of the Shamayim to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good.
That's good. Psalms 8 and verse 3. Stay, keep your finger in Genesis. So when he, like it says, by his breath he made the host, but then he set them in place, right? He set the sun, he set the moon, he set, so they have a specific order that they follow. And he set that order. So let them be for signs and seasons. So they just not up there randomly moving around, but they actually set in an order, right? He placed them so that they can carry out a specific task. Go ahead.
When I consider your Shamayim, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have ordained.
Which you have ordained, the work of your fingers. So it's showing he actually created these things. Like it wasn't just like he was like, let the sun be there and the moon, but he actually created the work of your fingers. But he ordained them to move in a particular order, right? Using his voice or his word or his breath or his ruach. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7.
Bereshit, or Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7. And Yahuwah Elohim formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul.
So it says that Elohim formed man out of the dust of the ground, right? So he didn't just when he went about and it said, "Let us make man in our image and after our likeness," right? It didn't just happen, but this is how it happened. It says that he formed him out of the dust of the ground, right? So when the scripture talks about it, when the scripture refers to us as being clay, right? And him being the potter and us being clay, like it's because how he actually formed us. Our physical form was formed with his hands, right? But then after he made our physical form, what did it say that he did in verse 7?
And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul.
So he put his breath into us. Everything that is living has breath, right? The beasts of the field, we have the breath of life. When you look at the story of Noah, it said that let everything that had the breath of life was going to perish, right? That breath of life came straight from the Most High himself. Verse 8. Verse 15.
Verse 15. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it.
So Adam's task, or the man that he placed into the garden, was to dress, his task was to dress the garden and to keep it. When you look at that keep, it's the same keep as the commandments, Shamar, which means to guard, to protect, right? So that was another kind of failure on Adam's part, because he was supposed to guard or protect the garden. So the tree that he was told not to eat from, nobody was supposed to eat from. And it was his job to actually protect it. And not, that was his task that the Most High had ordained upon him. Verse 18.
Verse 18. And Yahuwah said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him and help me for him.
So when the Most High recognized that the man shouldn't be alone, and he said, I'm going to make him a help, sufficient help. That help that's meet for him is a sufficient help for him, right? A companion, somebody that can help him with the task of dressing and keeping this garden, right? Go ahead.
And out of the ground, Yahuwah Elohim formed every beast of the field, every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them.
So the Most High created these beasts of the field and the fowl of the air the exact same way he created Adam. Same way, out of the dust of the ground, right? And matter of fact, let's hold that. I want to grab that real quick. Genesis 6, just real quick. Genesis 6, verse might be verse 7. Let me check the sermon. Where it said everything you have to breath of life is going to flow.
That's 7. 22.
Yeah.
Genesis chapter 7 at verse 21. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle, and of beast, and of every creeping thing that creep upon the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land died.
Okay, that's good. So just showing y'all that the Most High formed the beasts of the field, he formed the fowl of the air, he formed them out of the dust of the ground, and they had the same breath of life in them, right? Same. But anyhow, he was, and when he did this, he was doing it in an attempt to make us a help for Adam to dress and keep the garden, right? But when he formed them, he didn't ordain them, because Adam had the power now. He had the dominion when he said, let us make man and let him have dominion over the fish. And so Adam was given the dominion. So it was Adam's task to put these animals that was created for him to put them in the proper place. It was he had the dominion now, right? Back to chapter 2 at around verse 20.
Genesis chapter 2.
No, read 19 again.
Verse 19. And out of the ground Yahuwah Elohim formed every beast of the field, and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them.
To see what he would call them. So him called, all right, understanding what Hebrew is, right? Nothing is just called an arbitrary name, right? The name served a purpose, just like people, right? The name and all these things kind of go hand in hand. Go ahead.
And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to the beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found an helpmeet for him. And Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahuwah had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bone, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man.
So even when the Most High created Eve, right? Adam was the one who kind of put Eve in order, like put her what she was supposed to do. You know, you don't see where the Most High gave Eve a task or any of these animals a task, because Adam had the dominion to do that. The Most High put it in him when he breathed into him the breath of life and gave him dominion over the earth. That was his purpose, right? So Adam, in turn, has the creative ability to do everything that the Most High did. Same thing like we do. And I'm gonna show y'all that. So I won't matter of fact, let's grab these couple scriptures first. Grab Genesis 25 and 8.
Genesis of Bereshit, chapter 25 and verse 8. Then Abraham gave up the Ruach and died in a good old age, an old man, and full of years, and was gathered to his people.
Okay, so this ghost that Abraham gave up, right? We assume it's what? But it's so. But it's not. It's not either. If can somebody look that up real quick? 25 and verse 8. Grab 17, read 17 first.
Verse 17. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years, and he gave up the ghost and died.
Okay. 35 and 29.
Chapter 35, verse 29. And Isaac gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people, being old and full of days.
Okay, so we understand that giving up the ghost is synonymous with death, right? But giving up the ghost, that ghost, you would think is like something that it's a noun, right? Person, place, a thing that comes out of you, right? You would think in the verbiage that it gives you, but it's actually not. Read the definition.
From the Strong's Light 1478, it says, Gava, to expire, die, perish, give up the ghost, yield up the ghost, be dead, be ready to die, expire, die, be about to die.
And it's actually a verb, right? This word is actually a verb. So this is how I read out of the hallelujah. It says that verse 25 and verse 8. It says that Abraham breathed his last breath and died, or breathed his last and died. So that word for giving up the ghost actually means to take your last breath, right? So he gave his last breath, or he took his last breath, or his last breath left out of him, and he died, right? So when we grab Psalms 146 and verse 4.
And
146 and verse 4.
verse 4. Psalms 146 and verse 4. His breath goes forth. He returned to his earth. And that very day, his thoughts perish.
Okay. So that actually touch on the lesson that Quab had did about the with Samuel, right? Wasn't that the Samuel joint where it said that the dead know nothing, right? Because it said that when his breath goes out, he returned to the earth and his thoughts perish, right? It's all you're done. You're expired. So that breath going forth, that last breath, that's the death, right? So when we have our immersions, and Quab do the breakdown about when you go in the water and come out. Can you do that? Drop those couple of dudes on the spot.
All right, just like when you are baptized, when you are originally born, you're inside your mother's womb, you're inside of water, right? So it's symbolic of being cleansed and being reborn. Just like when the earth was corrupted, completely corrupted, what did he do with the earth? He flooded it, so to speak, or he baptized the whole earth. So when you get immersed, you're going to be a renewed man, a new creature. So when you go into the water, it's symbolic of Mashiach being on the stake. And it says that he gave up the ghost or the spirit the same way, right? So when you go into the water, what do? You take a deep breath, right? Stop breathing, right? Just like when he did. But then the Ruach came back into him, and he became a new man all over. So when you go down, you go into the water, you stop breathing. When you come back up, what is the first thing you do? Take a breath. So it's like you've been reborn again with this new breath, right?
Okay. So with that, grab Romans chapter 6 and verse 3.
Romans chapter 6 at verse 3. Know you not that so many of us were baptized into Mashiach, were baptized into his death?
So that's what Qua was saying, right? Baptized into his death, or immersed into his death, with him being on the stake. His death, like we that baptism or that immersion symbolizes our death for us, right? Of the old man, right? Go ahead.
Therefore, we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Mashiach was raised from the dead by the esteem of the Father, even so we also shall walk in the newness of life.
So we shall walk in the newness of life. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 17.
Five.
17.
2 Corinthians chapter 5 at verse 17. Therefore, if any man be in Mashiach, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new.
So all things are become new. That's that newness of life, right? So when we go down in the water, for those of us who have been immersed, we go down in the water, that's us symbolizing the burial or the death in Mashiach, right? When we come back out, that newness of life, right? That breath that enters back into us, the Ruach, dealing with Mashiach himself. So just trying to get y'all to understand how, just like the breath of life was in Adam, and he had the ability to create and set things in order in his own particular walk of life, with him dressing and keeping the garden. That was his task that he was deemed to do by the Most High. We have that same ability to, as we walk in newness of life, when that breath enters us, we come out of the water in that newness of life, walking as a new man and a new creature. Mark chapter 4 and verse 36.
Mark chapter 4 and verse 36. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him, even as he was in the ship, and there were also with them other little ships. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him, and say unto him, Master, carest you not that we perish?
So they thought they was about to die, and felt like, oh, he's asleep. While there's storm going on, he don't even care. We about to die. Go ahead.
And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? And they feared exceedingly, and said one to another, What manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?
So they was astonished that the wind and the sea stopped at his voice, right? He said, Peace be still. They was astonished, but peep what he said to them. Like, where's your faith? Like, why are you fearful? Like, they was fearful to the point they thought they was going to die. And he like, where's your faith? So that's showing us that fear actually counteracts faith. You can't say you have faith and be scared at the same time and be fearful. So if you're fearful, that means you really don't have faith. But if you got faith, that means you're performing without fear. Faith, y'all understand what I'm saying? So they are his 12 his 12 disciples, right? Or his 12 students. They walking with him daily. watching him perform these miracles, understand that they surrounded on a daily basis by the man himself, by the power and the esteem of the Most High himself, and they still didn't believe for real. They still was afraid. And they seeing this on a daily basis. So I just want to give y'all an example of this. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 17. Start at verse 8. Because this is kind of amazing, right? So imagine these men walking with Mashiach daily, seeing him rebuke demons, seeing him, cast out, heal people, all of these different things. And they really still didn't really believe, right? So them understanding that this was the anointed one, right? The one that was sent to redeem all of Israel. And they were surprised when he spoke to the wind and the wind stopped. They was like, push.
I just wanted to just chime in real quick and say that I think that they might have thought they believed.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just like with a lot of us, when we think we believe, this kind of puts it in context to understand what true belief is all about.
Yeah, you stepping on my toe. It's all good. No, I was gonna bring that up. 1 Kings 17, verse 8. Gonna hit the eye point real quick.
1 Kings chapter 17 at verse 8. And the word of Yahuwah came unto him, saying.
So this him is Elisha. Yeah, Elisha. Go ahead.
Arise, get you up to Zarephath, which belonged to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain you.
Is Elijah? Oh, Elijah, yeah, I'm all that. You're right.
So he arose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering of sticks.
Okay, so this woman was there gathering sticks, the woman that the Most High has set up for Elijah to hold him down while he was there, right? Go ahead.
And he called to her and said, fetch me, I pray you, a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, bring me, I pray you, a morsel of bread in your hand. And she said, as Yahuwah your Elohim lived, I have not a cake, but a handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die.
That we may eat. So this woman, it's a famine going on, right? So she said, Elijah said, he need a cake. Go fix me a cake. And she said, as Yah lives, so she knows, right? We're going to see if she believes or not later on. But she knows and is aware of the Most High. And she said, all I got left is a little bit of meal and a little bit of oil. I'm about to go cook it so me and my son can eat. It's the last food we got so we can eat, and we gonna die. She is ready to die. She figuring it's a wrap. It's a wrap after this. We gonna have this. This is our last meal, and it's over for us, right? So this is her mind state. Understand? Go ahead.
And Elijah said unto her, fear not. Go and do as you have said.
Fear not. So that fear not supposed to mean what? Have faith, right? Go ahead.
Fear not, and go and do as you have said. But make me there of a little cake first, and bring it unto me, and after make for you and for your son. For thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that Yahuwah send rain upon the earth.
So Elijah like, don't even sweat it. I know all you got it. Just make my cake first. And it's still going to be enough for you and your son to eat. Your meal ain't gonna go away. Your oil ain't gonna dry up. Trust, and believe. And she did. So you would think she believed, right? She ain't fear. She made him the cake. She got faith, right? Go ahead.
Verse 15, and she went and did according to the saying of Elijah. And she and he and her house did eat many days. Mm-hmm. And the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of Yahuwah, which he spake by Elijah. And it came to pass after these things that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick. And his sickness was so sore that there was no breath left in it.
So he yielded up his breath, right? And he died. Go ahead.
And she said unto Elijah, what have I to do with you, O you man of Elohim? Are you come unto me to call my sin to remembrance and to slay my son?
Is this, so she thinking this because of something that she did, that her son died? And she like, is that what you came for? Like, what I do to you? Go ahead.
And he said unto her, give me your son. And he took him out of her bosom and carried him up into a loft where he abode and laid him upon his own bed. And he cried unto Yahuwah and said, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, have you also brought evil upon the widow with whom I sojourned by slaying her son? And he stretched himself upon the child 3 times and cried unto Yahuwah and said, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, I pray you, let this child's soul come into him again. And Yahuwah heard the voice of Elijah.
And what happened?
And Yahuwah heard the voice of Elijah. And the soul of the child came into him again, and he revived.
So, no, matter of fact, continue. Read the last couple verses.
And Elijah took the child and brought him down out of the chamber into the house, and delivered him unto his mother. And Elijah said, see, your son lived. And the woman said to Elijah, now by this.
What did she say?
Now by this, I know that you are a man of Elohim, and that the word of Yahuwah in your mouth is true.
Okay. So this woman was ready. She was ready for death, right? Thought she had ran out of food. Like, we about to have this last little bit of food, and we ready to go ahead and die, right? So Elijah like, don't sweat it. Make my cake, and your barrel ain't gonna run dry. You're gonna have meal. You're gonna have oil. You're gonna be good. Instead, they ate for many days. She had enough for her and her son, one last meal, but they ate for many days. But you can see that she really still didn't believe. She really still didn't have faith in the Most High. She kind of doubted. So until her son was on his deathbed, he died. And the Most High revived him, right? And she like, now I believe. So it's the same thing with the disciples, right? They walking, you got Elijah living in your house. You surrounded literally by the esteem of the Most High daily. And you still really don't believe. Just like the Isaiah. They probably thought they believed. She probably thought she believed. She like, yeah, I'm gonna cook this last. I'm gonna just go ahead and do what he said, because she thought she believed. But when her son died, what happened? It was all out the window. Like, is this because I did something? This why you came? Because of my sin? It all left. Because sometimes in our own life, right? Because we, just like this, are living examples that we surrounded by the esteem and the power of the Most High every day. Surrounded. But really, some of us don't really believe. We really don't believe. We say we believe. We wrap our hair, we rock our fringes, and we act the part. But what happens when your faith is challenged? If your proverbial son dies, what happens? Where is your faith? Because that's where the true faith come in, right? What happens? It's sometimes your faith will be tested to the point where it may not be your son dying, but something of value, you may lose it. A loved one, you may lose it. Something that you think you can't live without, you might lose it. And then you lose it here. Then what where you thought you was a believer, and you thought you had faith, and you thought, because I looked the part, that I'm there. But really, you ain't believe. To the point where you in a storm, and the ship is rocking, and you like, I ain't gonna make it. I'm gonna die. But where's your faith? Your faith actually is not there. You know what I'm saying? Because we believe that we walking with Mashiach. Believe that the Most High is dealing with us, right? Then we got to believe it all the time. Even when the boat rocking, even when the waves crashing, even when we're in the storm, even when our son died, even when our mama passed, even when our daddy gone, even when something happened, you still got to have that faith, no matter what. That's the true sign. That shows that you truly believe. And it ain't just a facade, that you ain't just faking it, that it's real, that you really believe that these words are true, that you really believe that the book is real, is when you get shook. And it's like, what do I do now? But the Most High, like, do what I taught you. You know what I'm saying? This is the whole point of getting these words and understanding and edification, is because when things arise, we got to know how to deal with it. We got to know what to do. So it's like, just if something happened that's on a carnal level, right? And somebody says something to you out of the way, or somebody does something to you that's disrespectful, how do you handle it? How do you handle yourself? This is just on a small level. Do you handle yourself like the book say handle yourself? Or do you get in your flesh and go to cussing them out and go to acting a fool? Right? This is the reason why you learn this stuff, why you taught this, because this is how you're supposed to walk every day. Notice it don't say run, it say walk. Because it's slow and it's steady and it's methodical and it's one foot in front of the other. Don't rush, don't hurry too fast, because then you're liable to get tired, get weary, and don't want to take a break. But if you walk, just walk it out, right? Grab Matthew 21. And verse 18.
Matthew chapter 21 and verse 18. Now in the morning, as he returned into the city, he hungered. And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it, and found nothing thereon but leaves only, and said unto it, let no fruit grow on the tree henceforth forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, how soon is the fig tree withered away? Mashiach answered and said unto them, to you, if you have faith and doubt not, you shall not only do this, which is done to the fig tree, but also, if you shall say to this mountain, be you removed, and be you cast into the sea, it shall be done.
Okay, that's good. So, when he came, we went through this lesson, right, about the fig tree, the tree bearing fruit, right? And so because the tree wasn't bearing fruit, he cursed it and it withered, right? But when the disciples saw him do this, they say that they marveled, like, wow, like y'all didn't get it when I stopped the wind and the waves. Y'all still ain't get it. But he telling them, like, you're gonna have the ability to do this. You're gonna have the ability. So when it's talking about speaking to the mountain, right, and be removed and cast into the sea, what is that? What is that saying? What is that meaning? What is the mountain? Mountain. You said faith? You said faith. Exactly. Obstacle. An issue that you're gonna be able to speak the words into existence to remove obstacles, right? Out of your life. Mountain-sized obstacles, right? You're going to have that ability if you have faith and doubt not, right? That doubt is the fear. That when we use the cliche all the time, step out on faith and just try something, right? But what prevents you from stepping out on faith? Fear. You scared. I really want to start my own business and do what it is that I enjoy. But I'm afraid to put all my money into this and lose it. And I don't have anything. But it's not about money. It's not about money at all. The scriptures say that it's nothing to make a man rich, right? It's nothing. Money is nothing. Money is just a tool that you seek the Most High, and the thing's going to be. So if you have a desire to serve, right, in some capacity, some way, shape, form, or fashion, if that's your desire, if that's your heart's desire, and you got your faith, you believe that this is going to happen. So you step out there and you put yourself out there and you do it, regardless of the naysayers, the people who say, man, you got to be a fool. You've been working at Ford all these years and you going to quit to go do what? You've been doing this all this time and you going to stop to do what? What about your job? What about but you understand that you're stepping out on faith, meaning that you're disregarding the fear of failure, and understand that you're going to succeed because they say you're going to succeed because you have faith and you doubt not. Just on a natural scale, right? Just something that we can kind of all relate to. You just got to sometimes put yourself out there and believe. And even if it don't happen, even if you fail, it's not really ever a failure. You know what I mean? Yeah, you might not succeed the first time, but if you quit, that's the true failure. Right? If you just don't succeed the first time, it means just try harder and you learn a lesson from it. Yeah, next time I got to do blah, 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 blah. Right? Just like building something. If when you build something, if it don't come together properly the first time, right? And you continue to try and build and, just trying to, put things into perspective. But it might not work out as well the first time. But I'll give you an example. So when I decided I wanted to do some work in my house, right? I wanted to try my hand at drywall. I'd never done it before. So a friend of mine, he came over and he showed me some stuff. And I watched a whole lot of YouTube. And the first time I did some stuff, it really wasn't that good. It was okay. But as I continued on, and the next wall I did, and the next wall, and then you just progressively get better, right? So it wasn't like the first time was a failure. It just wasn't as good as the last time. Because you get better as you continue experience, right? So John chapter 11, verse 38. Because Mashiach told us that if we have faith and we doubt not, we're going to be able to move these mountain-sized obstacles. We're going to be able to speak to the mountain. Right?
John chapter 11 and verse 8.
Verse 38.
Verse 38. Mashiach therefore again, groaning in himself, come to the grave. It was a cave and a stone lay upon it. Mashiach said, take you away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Master, by this time he stayed. We have been dead 4 days. Mashiach said unto her, said I not unto you, that if you will believe, you should see the esteem of Elohim?
So already, she stepped in there with doubt. This is the Messiah. He been doing all kind of stuff, and he tell you, move the, what he say? Move the stone? Move the stone. And she like, this dude been dead for 4 days already. And he like, what is verse What is it? 40.
Mashiach said unto her, said I not unto you that if you will believe, you should see the esteem of Elohim? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Mashiach lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard.
You have heard me, right? Go ahead.
And I knew that you heard me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that you have sent me. And when he had thus spoken, he carried with a loud voice.
Right.
Cried with a loud voice.
He cried with a loud voice. What?
Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead come forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Mashiach said unto them, loose him and let him go.
So we see Mashiach, right? Brought life back into this man with his voice. He called his name. He cried with a loud voice and said, Lazarus, come forth, right? So when they say, you know, you're going to be able to speak to the mountain, you're going to be able to speak to the obstacles, part of your belief, a large part of it has to do with confession, right? Opening your mouth. If you believe in your heart, and what? And do what? Do what?
Confess with your mouth.
And confess with your mouth. Right? Believe in it. So it ain't, if you believe, I believe in my heart. It ain't just deep, you know, believing in your heart is just a part of it. But another part of it is also confessing with your mouth. Right? So you have the words of your mouth, right? You're going to be judged by idle words. And like it's power of life and death in the tongue. So if I can literally speak life into a man, if I can literally speak life into a situation, right? So when something look like it's dire and it look like it may not be any coming back from it, but I can speak life into the situation rather than negativity, rather than death, right? Speak life. We see that like examples in the walk of Mashiach, and he told us that we're going to be able to do these things and greater. So the thing that hold us back is what? Fear and doubt. John chapter 20 and verse 19.
John chapter 20 and verse 19. In the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Mashiach and stood in the midst and saith unto them, peace be unto you. And when he had so said, he showed unto them his hands and his side.
So this is after Mashiach was brought back to life, right? He was raised from death, right? Say that the disciples was gathered together and he showed them his hands and his side. He showed them his wounds, his scars, right? Go ahead.
Then were the disciples glad when they saw the master. Then said Mashiach to them again, peace be unto you. As my Father hath sent me, even so send I you. And when he had said this, he breathed on them.
He did what?
He breathed on them.
He breathed on them. And what happened?
And said unto them, receive you the Ruach HaKodesh.
Go ahead.
Whosoever sins you remit, they are remitted unto them. And whosoever sins you retain, they are retained.
So what does that mean right there? Whosoever sins you remit, they are remitted. What does that mean? Whoever sins you forgive, they forgive it. So what did Mashiach do right there? He gave him the power. The same thing you seen the Most High do with Adam, right? He breathed into Adam the breath of life. And then now Adam had dominion over the earth. The Most High gave Adam dominion over the earth, over the fish, over the animals, over the garden. Adam was in charge. So this, when Mashiach came back, when he was raised from the dead, it says that he breathed on his disciples. And he gave them the power to forgive sin. Who had the power to forgive sin? He did. He gave them the power, but he breathed on them and it gave them the Ruach, right? The set apart Ruach. I believe so. He said he was going to bring him, send him a comforter. Yeah, and you can kind of see that in the scriptures, where they kind of walked in it. You see, there was a little bit more, like, you know what I'm saying, had a little more, little more swag. You know what I mean? They had a little more confidence. Yeah, confidence in their walk. You ain't see them, you know, they wasn't as timid or as fearful as before. They were standing up to the high priest like, yo, whatever. And they was taking whoopings and happy about it. Because they was, you know, and you could see. But the Mashiach gave them that power, right? So us being coupled with Mashiach in his burial and in his resurrection, right? When we come up out of that water, when we walking in the newness of life, means that we have, if we are truly walking in the Ruach, that we have the same ability that he has given us. It ain't like it just happened. He gave us. He told us that we was going to be able to do certain things, that we was going to be able to speak to the mountain, that we was going to be able to move obstacles, that we could speak life with our tongue and with our voice, and we could call something that was not as though it already was, right? And create with our voice, just like he created. So you speak the thing into existence, right? Last couple scriptures. 2 Kings chapter 7. 2 Kings chapter 7 and verse, in fact, I think let's start at verse 1. And we had hit this before. I think I brought this out in another lesson. 2 Kings chapter 7.
2 Kings chapter 7.
Let me look at that. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is they put my man in the grave on top of the light. He touched his bones. 2 Kings chapter 7 and verse let me see, verse it started at verse we started verse 3. Let's start at verse 1.
2 Kings chapter 7 at verse 1. Then Elisha said, hear you the word of Yahuwah. Thus saith Yahuwah, tomorrow about this time shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gates of Samaria. Then the master on whose hand the king leaned answered the man of Elohim and said, behold, if Yahuwah would make widows in Shamaim, might this thing be? And he said, behold, you shall see it with your eyes, but shall not eat thereof. And there were 4 leprous men at the entering in of the gate. And they said one to another, why sit we here until we die?
So these 4 lepers who were standing at the gate, right, they was just there. They was lepers. They was put out the city. because they had leprosy. And so one of them said, well, we just gonna sit here until we die. Go ahead.
If we say we enter into the city, then the famine is in the city, and we shall die there.
So if we go into the city, there's a famine in there. We still gonna die. Go ahead.
And if we sit still here, we die also.
But if we just stay here, we gonna die. Go ahead.
Now therefore come, let us fall unto the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live.
So the Syrians was encamped, right? The army was encamped. It was like, if we go to the Syrians, we might be able to live. Go ahead.
And if they kill us, we's gonna die anyway.
Right. But if they kill us, it don't matter, because we gonna die here in the city, or we might as well try our hand. All right, we might as well just give it a shot. Go ahead.
And they rose up in the twilight to go to the camp of the Syrians. When they would come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. For Yahuwah had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, lo, the king of Israel had hired against us the king of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight and left their tents and their horses and their donkeys, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent and did eat and drink and carried them silver and gold and raiment and went and hid it and came again and entered into another tent and carried thence also and went and hid it.
That's good. So the lepers made a decision, right? They figured, if we stay here in the same spot that we in, we gonna die. If we go into this other spot, which was the city, where it really ain't nothing going on, we gonna die. If we go and just try this, the worst that can happen is we gonna die. But it's a possibility that we could live, because they'll feed us. And when they got there, the possibility had exploded into something that was way more than they could ever have imagined. They had free reign of all the tents, all the food, all the silver. They had everything that they could have wished for and more. But just like the lady who was with Elijah, right? See the difference. She like ready to die. Let me make these last couple cakes, these last little bit of meal and oil, and we're gonna call it a day. I'm just gonna throw my hands up and it's a wrap. We're gonna die. But these lepers, who was pretty much in one of the worst predicaments, I mean, what else who was ready for death, one of them decided like, yo, I'm not gonna stay here and die. Let's go try something different. So it's the same thing, like within your own life, right? If you feel like that you in the spot that you in, that you really not living, why stay there and die? Right? You just gonna have your last little bit of meal and just stay there and die. Why? Why? Why not understand that you have the ability to create within your own life, in your own situation, life, abundant life? You've been given that power through Mashiach. You've been given that power by the Most High. You have the ability to create. You have resources at your hand. Why sit you there and die? Why? When you've been given all of this, you've been surrounded by the esteem and the power of the Most High every day. And you like really don't believe. Because you're refusing to exercise your faith and understand that he purposed you for a task and gave you the ability to create within that task the same way he did Adam. The same way Mashiach did the disciples. You got the ability. So why sit you there and die? Use that voice that he gave you, that breath, that life that's within you to speak life into any situation and create the thing that it is that you want, the thing that it is that you think that the Most High purpose you for. You have that ability. You got to exercise it through your faith. But your fear is showing disbelief. It's showing unbelief. If you have doubt in whatever it is that you purpose to do or that you think that you purpose to do, it's creating fear. It's stopping you. When you have all the resources and the ability and the capability to do that grand thing that you got right here, that one idea that dropped in your head that you felt like you could do something great, but then it was like somebody said, well, how you gonna do that? You just this. Well, how you gonna do that? You only that. But the Most High said that you can do all things. Right? So if we really believe that, if we really believe that this book is true, if we really believe, if we really got faith, then that means that all of these different principles and these different situations that's in the book, we're supposed to be able to create those things in our own life. Using something as simple as the breath that's in you, right? You got it. Exercise it. Allow that to be the jump off and then walk in it. So these lepers that was like, yo, why are we going to sit here and die? Let's go over there and see what's happening. And then when you step out and you go do something, and then, oh my goodness, the whole camp is empty. Let's see what they got in this tent. They ate and drank and got silver and went and hid a little bit away. And then ultimately, that saved the city. If you continue to read, you will see that the people in the city went to the camp and they took everything, they spoiled all the stuff. They took all the spoils, rather. So that same little thought that could be in your head to just try. And you know what? Let me just try this. Do it. Do it. You got the ability. You got the capability. You got everything in you because y'all put it in you. Right? So when you have different situations arise, don't let some naysayer come along and tell you, well, nah, you can't do that because you ain't good enough, or you ain't big enough, or you ain't tall enough, or you ain't strong enough, or you ain't smart enough, or you ain't got enough money, It starts somewhere, and it's really start right here with just the thought to say, why am I just sitting here wasting away doing nothing? Why am I just going to sit here and die when I got so much potential, so much creativity, so much ability to do something greater, right? Do it. Ain't nothing stopping you but you. Right? We got resources available. We got, just on a low level. I'm talking just on a low level. This ain't even talking about bringing somebody back to life. But in a proverbial sense, it is. You're talking about speaking life into yourself and reviving the man that came up out of that water and took that breath. And now you're dealing with the Ruach, and the Most High is dealing with you. And now you got that same ability to speak life into your own situation and become whatever it is, or to speak life into another situation. Or you might see somebody that's suffering that need a word of encouragement, like speak life into them. Because they walking around here hanging and feel like they don't got, and sometimes it don't always take $1, or sometimes they just need a word of encouragement. And you got the ability because you got this in you. You got the breath of life residing in you, and you got the ability to call things like the Most High gave you that. So use it, right? That's it. Anybody have any questions?
Good word, man. Good word. Powerful. I want to say something with this, just like he talking about this whole speaking this thing into existence. You know what I'm saying? Life and death and the power of the tongue. You can do this in reverse, like he was saying, right? Like, for instance, take Tupac and Biggie, right? All they spoke about in their songs is what?
Yeah.
Death, right? Death around the corner. I'm ready to die. All this stuff, right? What came and visited them? Because they spoke it all the time. So the same way that you can speak and move that mountain, you can do the same thing in reverse. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us do this. So I used to do this back when I used to go out and stuff, right? On carnal level, we'd be in the line and it'd be moving good. And I'd always say, watch, they gonna stop as soon as I get there. Sure enough, as soon as we get there, hey, ain't let nobody else here right now. I just did it to myself.
Like, I knew it.
Mm-hmm. Right. But you actually just spoke this folly into existence, not even knowing. And this is the same thing. Now, like he was talking about in his lesson, what's so bad about being fearful and unbelieving? If you are this, what happens to you? If you are fearful, what happens to you? It's really, really bad to be fearful. Let's see. Revelations 21 and 8.
Revelation chapter 21 and verse 8. But the fearful.
But who?
But the fearful.
But the fearful and who else?
And unbelieving.
So if you fearful, that means you really don't believe, like he was saying. But the fearful and the unbelieving have what?
And the abominable and murderers.
So notice, being fearful is lined up with being a murderer. Read.
And the whoremongers.
Wow. So to be fearful is lined up with a murderer, a whoremonger. What else?
Sorcerers.
Wait a minute. A witch? Right.
Say drug sorcerer.
Oh wow, they do.
Read on.
Idolaters and all liars.
And all who?
And all liars.
All liars. So this unbelieving person is lined up with these people. They don't even seem like this to be fair. But this person is lined up with these people. So if you are fearful, when the time comes, Maccabees, what they gonna take?
The mark.
You will take the mark because you will fear for your life. I'm just doing it because it is. You're actually afraid, so you're actually trying to save your life, but you actually losing it. So that's the thing with this whole being fearful thing. Really, really sums up about it. The same thing with the mark.
I just looked that word up. G1169. The word fearful. It says, besides fearful, it's timid. Somebody that's timid.
Yeah. And that's something that I kind of wanted to touch on too. We brought up John 11 and 43, and he was saying that the Shiach said, I got you.
John chapter 11 at verse 43. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin.
But that, just with that, when I look at when he said he spoke with a loud voice, you know, it's like when we speak, it has to be with boldness,
Authority.
and authority. You know, we start, you know, like you said, that timid, uncertain, unsure, you don't know. It's like when you speak those words, they have to be with boldness. So, speaking is one aspect, but speaking with that boldness and that authority is important.
Exactly. So you can tell the demons, come out of there, demons. Be you out. Like you said, it's got to be bold. Come out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Definitely. The timid has got to go.
That's like when we be having our little debates, right? Our little, and somebody make a statement, you be like, I always be like, you sure? Yeah. You sure? I think, yeah. Are you know, because, and look, they could be sure the first time they said it, but when you be like, you sure? You know what it start causing? Doubt. They start doubting, like, I don't know. I use that all the time because people start doubting themselves. But somebody, you sure? But when you sure about something,
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah, you got it. Yeah, I'm sure.
Because, they don't come at us.
Even when I ain't sure, I
They
still
don't come
do.
at us in so many ways. Sound intelligent, sound going to talk to make you. You gotta know your stuff. You gotta know who it is coming at you. No matter how good they make, intelligent they may sound, the language they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You said because that's how Mashiach did. He spoke with authority. He spoke with, and to the point, even when he was a child, to the point that it said that the priest was like, "Who kid is this?" The way he was talking. That's why they like, what manner of man is this that he can talk to the wind? And it didn't say he was like, wind go away. It say he rebuked the wind. Right? Let me see, is there any questions on the chat? Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I want to say something.
Go ahead, sister.
Come next month, I'll be at my job for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I gave them a letter like about 4 years ago, telling them about what I believe in, and I don't accept the shot. Now, just come this year, they want to try to make me do the flu shot. And I told her I'm not taking it. So I just need everybody to pray for me. Because I'm not taking it, so I might be out of the job.
So
It's under new management.
oh.
Yeah, so, Carol, you got to know right now. What you know right? But they already got you know right. That's the first one, know right. But they still in you ain't necessarily all the time. Yeah, but it's paper, if you get legal, a notarized is illegal. It's illegal. It's really illegal. New management always go to build on rules and regulations and always have to talk to them. But if they mess it up, okay, so she told me this Monday, and I told her I'm not doing it. She was like that. The first time I did it, I didn't feel like, I gave her paper and they said, no, you got that shot. So, okay. Years later, I was like, same piece of paper, got it all right, to the school, they said, I didn't know. You got to get it legal. That way a document, if they say she give you that, you can say, well, they say, yes, I got it too. They found out.
And that's a lot of times they kind of be wanting to see if they're going to try it, yeah, to see if they can kind of use scare tactics and get you to. But if you stand up there and you willing to accept the fact that I might have to give me a new job. If, I believe this to the point where I ain't about to go back on it, and I just have to give you a new job. And if that's what happened, then that's what happened, and you gotta stand on it.
Don't get a new job. Go follow the EEOC. EEOC, you got a lawsuit that will do that. A guaranteed lawsuit, for sure.
Yeah, that is discussing discrimination. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. That is. I'm defending the suit.
nurse. She saved that thing. She did not take that shot. And I don't know that she did. She was successful in not being able to take the shot and maintain her job. So my wife has her phone number. You might want to reverse off with her and see what she did.
Some resourceful folks. You know?
They can really take a flu shot.
But I think like they can make you get like a TB test. You know?
No, even with that, I don't need to see my test. I have my blood drawn. I don't let you see the test.
But I mean that's the same thing. But the TB test is here. They put it in.
No, it's a medicine.
Oh, it's a medicine.
Yeah, it's medicine.
Okay.
They draw blood. Like
And
I
then
said,
test it.
right. Like I said, except for my letter, 4 maybe 5 years ago.
But yeah, they can't make you because the flu shot don't prevent you from getting the flu. They
Yeah,
put
I
the
know
flu
that.
in you.
Exactly, right.
I got a question real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
When I was in the military, I took the Hep B. 3 serious shots. Okay, now, because of my job, fire this way, they say, okay, now since we do a medical first responder now, and when we go to EMT school, they say you have to retake the Hep B. And once you take the Hep B one time, it's not good. It's good for your whole life.
Yeah. That's what I thought, yeah. Because I had to take that like when I first started, so yeah.
Oh, you're a nurse too, right? Sorry.
All right. Anybody else?
There's one last thing.
Go ahead.
Kids always like to say, I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the words and some of the things they make to be
Mm-hmm.
cool and little sayings and stuff like that.
Right.
Just, speaking some of the wrong stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I try to try to do that with my own kids when they say something like, call themselves stupid or call like, no, I don't do that. Like you can't, even something as small as that, it creates a defeatist attitude with them to the point where, it could grow into something larger. So you gotta, even speak life into your children constantly and let them know that they are intelligent and that they are, capable of doing different things. And, just on that scale, we gotta do that as well. Absolutely. Because kids like they say are sponges and they soak that stuff up. Like you gotta do like old girl in the hill. Let's go ahead and pray out then. Oh, we always supposed to wait for our kid after that. All right, I don't want to get going until we cross over. Is it because your other drink Stop. Let's pray out and take it down. Yeah, it's a big difference. Yeah, even just with that, I think say drug sorcerers. Instead of sorcerers, you think it like magic, but that's what drugs is. That's pharmacy. Exactly. Gotta turn around so it's right. Father, Yah, we come before you right now with one voice, Father, with one accord. Ask me, Father, that you would strengthen us, Father, create in us, Father, a clean heart and a clean Ruach, Father. Allow your Ruach, Father, to reside within us, Father. Give us the strength, Father, to speak those things into existence, Father, that you have placed in our hearts, in our Ruach, Father, in our minds, Father, in our soul. Father, allow us, Father, to proceed forth according to your word, Father, understanding that you have already deemed things so and given us the ability to perform in our own life and to help others, Father. And allow us, Father, the knowledge and the ability, Father, to gain understanding according to your word, Father, that we're able to perform these things. Father, we pray that we would just to keep your Son in the forefront of our minds, understanding that if we seek you first and your kingdom, Father, that you will provide the increase. Father, we ultimately just ask that you would continue to heal us as a people, Father. Continue to strengthen us as a nation. Continue to revive us as your people and bring us back in the right standing with you. We thank you for the blood that was shed for the remission of our sins, Father. We thank you for your Son that was given, Father, so that we can be reconciled back unto you. Father, all these things we pray and we give thanks. So be it. So be it. Aminu Shabbat Shemaim. Aminu Shabbat Shemaim. Ikado. Shenka. Tabo. Bakuka. Yehase. Rasonka. Bare. Kasher. Nasha. Bashemaim. Teilanu. Hayom. Likin. Ikana. Lakusla. Lanu. Eight. Ashmatenu. Kasher. Suki. Lanaknu. Lasher. Ashmu. Lanu. Wa'al. Tabinu. Lede. Wasa. Ki. Hasulanu. Min. Bara. Ki. Laka. Amam Laka. Wahagi Bora. Wahati Pare. Lome. Ulamin. So be it. Hallelujah.